So hello everyone and welcome back to the P. Carroll Sport Podcast. Paul Carroll here, and we have a busy show lined up this week. We're going to be looking back on round 3 of the County Hurling Championships in Tipperary. The group stages have come to a conclusion. We're a little bit wiser as to who is going to be lifting the Michael Maher Cup, the Seamus Arene Cup, and of course the Dan Breen Cup. But I really don't think we're that much wiser, because these championships are so competitive, like we've seen across the first 3 rounds. And we've seen it again, of course, at the weekend with so much drama across the games. There were relegation score differences that we're going to talk about. There was, last-minute goals, teams getting out of the group for the first time, upsets, loads to talk about. So we're going to get through game by game here now, and I'll change my screen so you can see what I'm looking at here in front of me as well. So some of the results on the screen in front. Of course, we'll go through my predictions. I seem to be good at some grades and then absolutely awful at other grades. So we'll go down through all that as well. We also have lots of listener questions to get into. If you want to send your questions in, it's usually on my stories on my Instagram at P. Carroll Sport there as well. So before we get started, I will ask one favour of you if you're listening in. Like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It's free to subscribe and all that stuff. So follow me on my social medias at P. Carroll Sport. You know the crack at this stage. So let's just get straight into it. We'll go down game by game, group by group. I'll also kind of, after we go through each grade, I'll bring up this screen so you can see exactly where we are. That's the kind of lie of the land at the minute. So who's won each group, the group runners up, preliminary quarterfinals. Those draws have been made. Of course, the preliminary quarterfinals will react to those draws as well. Maybe we'll even do that now. Lockmore Castellani against Holy Cross Ballycal, the two pre-tournament favourites. Holy Cross and Lockmore, they played in the mid-final this year, went to extra time. They played in the county semi-final last year, and that is just an absolutely huge fixture. Can't wait for that one. Saturday, the 5th of September, excuse me, at 5 p.m. in the Rag. And the other one, Clouty Rossmore versus Nina Rogue, the following day at 3:30 in Bursalee, is a massive fixture as well. But that Lockmore Castellani Holy Cross Ballycal game, there's so much kind of different narratives you can have going into it. You can see Lockmore Castellani, if they're going for 3 in a row, they're of course going to have to win this game. Holy Cross, the young team kind of coming, are they going to be able to slay the kind of current kings at the minute? There's so much to look forward to that game. And likewise, across the other games, Clouty Rossmore, West champions against Nina Rogue, county finalists last year. That's a repeat of the 2018 county final. The Premier Intermediate, you've Moneygall against Aero Gannacarty. Sean Tracy's probably the story of the weekend. They'll be in a preliminary against Thurles Sarsfields, and Borlahan Duala against the Mines. And in the intermediate, just one prelim in the intermediate. That's Skeena Rinky against Newport. And we also had the intermediate hurling relegation semi-final set last night as well. Holy Cross Ballycal, second team will play Ballybacon Grange. And Carrick Davins, who had a very good win over the weekend, they will take on Clouty Rossmore's second team in the preliminary quarter-final. But we'll have plenty of time to look ahead to those matches next week. But on this week's podcast, as I said, we are going to look back on what has been a massive weekend in Tipperary. Let me just double check before I stay going here that I am recording this. I am. That's good, because otherwise I've been talking to myself for the last 3 minutes. So we have a lot of games to get through, so let's get straight into it. We're going to start with Group 1 of the County Hurling Championship, and this is where Thurles Sarsfields had a 227-218 victory over Killer 1 MacDonagh. So let's bring up the notes I have for these games. So basically what I do is I'll be at some of the games over the weekend, but I'll just be taking notes on the games as I'm at them, or after if I have been at the games. But as I'm watching them back on Clubber, I would be kind of just noting down things that pop up for me. So because it's Tuesday, I have been able to watch all the games that have been on Clubber. I usually do always watch them, but time constraints, sometimes I just have to kind of flick through as best I can. And that plus 10 second button is an absolute godsend. If a ball goes out for a puck out, or if someone's down injured for free or something like that, just tap plus 10, plus 10, plus 10, see the freebie taken, plus 10, see the puck out, and there you go. You can watch the match fairly quickly as well. But anyway, let's get into it. Killer 1, 218, Thurles 227. Thurles 3 wins from 3 now. They top Group 1. Really impressive performance, strong performance from Thurles all over the field. And if your surname was Stakelum in this game, you had a good game, because Aidan Stakelum, Keen Stakelum, Of course, Connor Stakelum and Dara Stakelum all had really good games for Thurles. We'll go down through it. Aidan Stakelum actually had a goal chance on the 9th minute after a lovely pass from Dara Stakelum, but it was a slightly better start for Thurles. They led 9 points to 7 after 15 minutes, but then Paddy Creedon has continued his good form this year. Kind of a one-handed finish into the back of the net. That was 21 minutes gone, 110 to 8 points. But there was a couple of goal chances with either team before the break. Keane O'Kelly hit one just wide. Kieran Rossiter had one that was saved. And then the big kind of moment in this game for Killer One was on the stroke of half-time, in first half injury time. Willie Cleary had a penalty, usually absolutely deadly from dead balls. But this one just went wide, and it meant that Thurles went in 114 to 9 points in the lead. Keane Stakelum in that first half. Watching it back, I wasn't sure did he get 3 or 4 points, but he was certainly to the fore there for Thurles in their half back line. And Keane O'Kelly has had a really good campaign for Killer One. Captain of the team, you can see that's probably given him more of an impetus really, and every game he played he's been scoring heavily. I think he scored quite a lot from play in the championship this year, but he had 3 points in that first half. As Killer One have the luxury of doing with a player like Niall O'Mara, you can move him up and down the field as you need him. They moved him up the field in the second half, and he did get a goal to bring them slightly back into the game, but it was kind of all Thurles, and that was the 48th minute, that Niall O'Mara goal, 120 to 114. But the Dara Stakelum goal with 5 minutes to go really ended the game, and again it was Ewan Murray in the middle of the field, got onto the ball, powerful run, popped a hand pass into Dara Stakelum, and he finished it in one-on-one with Paddy Williams. And Willie Cleary did get a goal deep in injury time, but it was game over at that point. So Thurles 227, it's a big score to put up against a good Killer One McDonough's team. Killer One finished with 218. Dara Stakelum finished with 1-6 on the day. Like, Connor Stakelum has been really impressive at centre back. Like, this is a Thurles team without Ronan Maher, and they've 3 weeks off now until their next game. It's going to be on in the stadium. They will fancy that they could be going all the way this year at Thurles Sarsfields, and I think we're going to talk about some players that have impressed so far this year, but right up there is Ewan Murray. I think he just looks the part for such a young player. Like, it's hard to believe this lad is 18 years of age. Like, he's really taken to the senior grade and is strong, really intelligent on the ball, quick, and just a brilliant hurler. So certainly an exciting prospect for Thurles, and you can kind of hear him talking about it in any of the post-match interviews, that the young blood has brought a lot of life back into this Thurles team, with, of course, Kieran Rossiter as well. Daniel Rossiter is still a young player. So that's where Thurles are at. For Killer One, disappointing, their year is coming to a conclusion, but they do have a really nice team. I love watching this Killer One team. There's a lot of players I really like to watch. Niall O'Mara, I love the kind of aerial ability they have, and the likes of Thomas Cleary, Keane O'Kelly, Willie Cleary. Of course, Jerry Cahill, a big loss for them, didn't play this game. But some nice young players coming through as well. Shane Cleary is still very young. Tommy O'Mara, his first year under his belt now as well. So lots to like about Killer One, but unfortunately for them, their year has come to a conclusion. The other game in this group was a real intriguing one. Upperchurch Drumban 20 points, Holy Cross Ballycahill 128. So at half time, Upperchurch led this game. Upperchurch had a really good first half. They led 14 points to 11 at the break. Some brilliant scores throughout. Worth mentioning, Holy Cross didn't have Joe Caesar, but Jim Ryan came on in the second half, which is absolutely brilliant to see. Of course, he got injured in the county semi-final last year against Lockmore Castleiney. Knee injury, was the Tipperary under-20 All-Ireland winning kind of centre-back that year. So brilliant to have him back, and just great to see him back on the field, really, that he has been able to recover. So he was back for Holy Cross, and that will shove them on a lot as well. He's a real proper number 6 kind of player. Just drifts into space, seems to read the game well, and is good on the ball. So a real good player for Holy Cross to have back. For Upperchurch, throughout this game, Philip O'Dwyer was just, I think when I was watching it, I was like, he's an absolute whippet. Like, he's so fast, lively, quick on his feet, can score from angles. He got a few great scores in the game, and it was Upperchurch who started really well. They're 5 points to 1 up after 10 minutes, and Diarmuid Grant got another point then. Paddy Phelan added a great score, caught a puck out, put it over the bar. Dara Woods, as he tends to do, he got a couple of great scores if you think of a Dara Woods score, it's out in the sideline, kind of over the shoulder kind of thing, and he got a few of those as well. So it was level on the 22nd minute, but Philip O'Dwyer got 2 more tidy points before half time, and Upperchurch led, as I said, 3 points in it at the break. But Holy Cross started the second half very well. 32nd minute goal, long ball down, Mikey Nally, as his role in this team, it's a really important role as well. He snapped the long ball, popped it off to Dara Woods, and he put it into the back of the net. Robbie Ryan then with a great touch, like a ball coming from distance, touched it at his kind of up around his waist and into his hand over the bar, and he got another point just a moment later to put them up. And in that second half, the scores really dried up for Upperchurch. They couldn't get that kind of fluidity in the attack at all, whereas down the other end, Robbie Ryan, Tiernan Ryan got a few brilliant scores. Upperchurch missed some frees after that. There was only 2 points. They only scored 2 points, I should say, in the third quarter. That's the kind of part of the game they'll be annoyed with. Philip O'Dwyer, brilliant, as I've written down here. He set up Aaron Ryan for a goal chance on the 50th minute. That was saved by Ewan Burke, and it kind of petered out then after that. So 11-point win for Holy Cross Ballycal, and a huge win for them, because I'd say at half-time, this young team, pre-competition favourites for the Dan Breen, at half-time they're losing to Upperchurch Drumban. Their season, if they lost that game, they would have been into relegation. Like, I'd say they were, or would they have? If Upperchurch had won, it would have gone down to a score difference thing, but they could have been in relegation, or they certainly could have been out of the championship. So it was always going to be a big second half for them. I'd say they got a good talking to at half time, just about where they're at the minute, and they got it together and were really good in that second half. So Upperchurch Holy Cross go marching on, and as we said, they'll play Lockmore Castleiney in the preliminary quarter-final, which is no great prize, I suppose, but it's better than being out of the championship, and they're alive and kicking in the hunt for Dan Breen. For Upperchurch, they go into the relegation semi-finals, and I was thinking about it during the day, like I could be saying that they won't get relegated, they're too good to get relegated, but you can kind of say that about the 4 teams that are in it. Upperchurch, Clonalty, Rossmore, Rossgrey are hurling really well, and I was really impressed with Mullinahone against JK Bracken. So one of them teams are going to get relegated, and it's hard to believe, because they're all really good teams and have had their moments this year, but obviously have found themselves at the bottom of their group. So that's how Group 1 played out in the Senior Championship. We'll keep it going to Group 2, where there was a lot of drama in this group. Lockmore Castleiney 2-21, Clonalty Rossmore 2-18, and Moycarkey Burris beat Bursalee 2-18 to 1-18. So that's 3 from 3 now for Moycarkey Burris. They topped the group with 6 points. And then Lockmore Castleiney, Clonalty Rossmore and Bursalee were all on 2 points. So I saw some people just querying, why are Bursalee second and not another team? So I had it highlighted here in my permutation. So I knew going down through all these permutations, it was going to come in handy at some stage. And this was certainly one of those occasions. So Moycarkey Burris win and Lockmore Castleiney win. So you'll see it here. That puts Moycarkey Burris first, and then you have Clonalty, Bursalee and Lockmore all on the same points, and you go to score difference in the games just between those 3 teams. So you can forget about Clonalty against Moycarkey, Bursalee against Moycarkey and Lockmore against Moycarkey. Forget about those, they don't count in this situation. It's just the games between the 3 teams that are level. And going into this weekend, Clonalty Rossmore were at the top of that mini league. They were on +2 points. Bursalee were on +1, and Lockmore were on -3. So what happened in these games? Bursalee played Moycarkey, so their score difference doesn't change. It remains on +1, and Lockmore beat Clonalty Rossmore by 3 points. So Lockmore's score difference here goes from -3 to level 0, and Clonalty Rossmore's goes from +2 to -1. So then you have Bursalee on +1, Lockmore on 0, and Clonalty Rossmore on -1. So that's how close it is. That's why Clonalty are in the relegation semi-finals, or in that spot anyway. They do have the preliminary quarter-final. If they go on and win the county final, they don't have to play the relegation. But other than that, they will be in relegation, and it's because of 1 point. So how many maybe easy scores were missed by all of these teams throughout the championship that could have made a difference, but that's just how it goes. So that is why Clonalty are bottom, and that is why Bursley are second and Loughmore are third. So let's get into these games themselves. We'll start with Clonalty Rossmore against Loughmore Castleiney. 3 points in it for a finish, but Clonalty made their lives an awful lot more harder than it needed to be. They found themselves 2-5 to no score down after 6 minutes. Kieran Rucker McCormack got a goal after 19 seconds of the game, bounced it in off the ground and high over the keeper. Jason O'Dwyer he was in 1-on-1, bounced it off the ground, and Jason O'Dwyer had kind of dived or went down on the ground, and it just bounced up high and into the back of the net. And then John McGrath got a goal on this after 3 minutes. So just 2.5 minutes after the first goal, John McGrath has another one got. And you might have seen the clip going around. If you haven't seen it, I've shared it on my Twitter at PCarrollSport. Brilliant piece of footage by an Instagram account called breathing_air, and era as in EIRE. So breathing era. I recommend checking out some of their videos. They're brilliant. But this footage behind the goals of looking at John McGrath, and you can see the task that Ronan Heffernan had to try and mark him, because in this 10-second clip, John McGrath makes about 5 dummy runs where he runs this way, then he fakes to run in behind Ronan Heffernan. This is all occupying the defender, and then he breaks one way, breaks the other. And if you're watching it on Clubber, you're like, God almighty, how has John McGrath this much space as the ball is coming into him? And it's because of that movement. And I've seen people, I put it up on Twitter and people replying saying that's shite defending or whatever. It's very much easier said than done. If you're trying to defend John McGrath and he's running this way, running that way, you have to cover him here, you have to cover him there. Suddenly you're watching him see what he's doing. You don't realise the ball is coming in because you can't be looking both ways, and he's in space. And not only that, Ronan Heffernan kind of backs off him a bit then, because it's almost kind of like, right, I can't let him get around me now. And John just absolutely rifles a shot off his weaker left side up into the top of the net. It was an unbelievable goal from John McGrath. Liam McGrath had a goal chance then on the 20th minute that produced what was a comfortable save for Jason O'Dwyer, who's a brilliant shot stopper. And in fairness to Clonalty, they did battle back. It was 2-11 to 9 points at the break, so they clawed it back. For Loughmore, a couple of worries. John Maher limped off early in the second half, and Ed Connolly went off a few minutes later as well. Ed Connolly is what I have written down there. Let me change that to Ed Connolly. So those are some injury concerns for Loughmore, and of course they're out in 2 weeks' time now as well, so something to keep an eye on. For Clonalty, their first goal came on the 37th minute, a long ball in, landing in that awkward area between the goalkeeper and the full back. And just on the edge of the square was Cathal Burke running in, and he got a little flick just before Aidan McGrath and flicked it into the back of the net. 2-13 for Loughmore, 1-11 for Clonalty at the time. And Clonalty brought it back to, I think, 3 points when Philip Kelleher got his goal on the 58th minute, low into the corner after a pop pass from Stephen Ferncombe. And I've Ferncombe, the main threat, written down there. He's been playing so well for Clonalty, and he was kind of doing a lot of the scoring and a lot of setting up. But this game came down Ferncombe got a few points down the stretch, and there was a couple of wides late on by different Clonalty players as well that it all makes the difference late on. But Loughmore 3-point winners, and they're back to winning ways in the county championship, because they had lost their first 2 games. If they lost again against Clonalty, they'd be playing the relegation playoffs should they not go on to win the county championship. So big win for Loughmore. They finish 3rd in the group, but to progress with that preliminary quarter-final. The other game in this group, Bursley 118, Moycarkey Burris 218. Some personnel things to note. Max Hackett started the game for Moycarkey. Brilliant to see him back starting, because he'd been playing little bits here and there for Moycarkey, but it's just about getting him back up to fitness, because I'm not sure had he played anything before playing Loughmore in round 1. He played a bit, he came on in that game, he might have played junior or something before that, the weekend before that, but he had very little hurling done this year through injury, so great to see him back. He's had a bad run of it with injury, so hopefully a prolonged period of good health and fitness for Max Hackett. Unfortunately for Moycarkey, Kieran Cummins, one of their key men, he went off injured after about 20 minutes. It was a late tackle and he limped off, so you're kind of hoping it's just a dead leg maybe or something for him. But in the game itself, kind of slow start to the game, not a lot of scores in the first 20 odd minutes. Reece Shelley scored a penalty on the 26th minute after Max Hackett was fouled. And then just before half-time, it was 1-6 to 6 points on the stroke of half-time. A long ball played down, I think it was a Killian Cantwell free from distance, landed in around the edge of the square, and holding off his man and overhead batting it first time was Kieran Morris into the back of the net. Nothing James McCormick could do in the goals about that one. So it was 2-6 to 6 points at the break in favour of Mike Harkey-Burris with those two first half goals. We saw a real classy David Costigan score in the 45th minute. One of those ones where you're kind of like stepping back and saying, yeah, he could go to the next level. Just power through a couple of lads, flicked it over someone's head and put it over the bar. So a big score from him. JD Devaney has continued his really good form. He got a goal in the 51st minute, top of the net. That made it 2-13 to 1-14. So what's that, 19 points to 17. So back to a 2-point game. I have Reece Shelley funny moment celebrating a free early written down in my notes. So Reece hit a long range free, and at one stage he gave a huge roar just as the ball was in the air because he could tell it was going over the bar. And then he done it again later in the game, except the only issue was he hit this long range free from around his own 45. He kind of turned to the bank in the rag and gave a big roar, but the ball hit the post. The ball hit the post and dropped down and was cleared, and it got like away from like all the Bursley people. So that was a comical moment in that game. It reminded me, if you follow the NBA at all, Nick Young celebrating that 3-pointer where he turns around and kind of does some sort of pose, but the ball hits the rim and bounces out. So it was a kind of a funny moment like that there for Reece Shelley. Eddie Ryan got a free on the sideline on the 45 in the 63rd minute. That was the last score of the game. That proved massive for Bursley, as we've said, with the scoring difference. And JD Devaney had a goal chance seconds later that just went wide with kind of like the last puck of the game. And if that went into the back of the net, now it wouldn't have made a difference for Bursley, because the standings would have been the same. Mike Harkey would have still topped the group and Bursley would have still finished second. So it didn't make a difference in that way, but that was a big goal chance for JD Devaney, who's hurling so well this year. So big win for Mike Harkey-Burris there, and Bursley will be happy. They make it out of the group for the first time since 2021. For Mike Harkey-Burris, I think it might be back-to-back group wins. I think they won their group last year as well, and they've done it again this year. So they're a team that is looking really good at the minute, Mike Harkey-Burris. Lots of threats there as well. A lot of players that can score. Of course, Kieran Morris, David Costigan, as we've mentioned, Killian Cantwell's long-range frees, Kieran Morris, Rory Darmody got a few scores as well. Like, they just have a lot of options, and I think Stephen Walsh is actually hurling really good stuff as well, and all the Hayes at the back. There's a lot of them, Kevin Tom and Owen Hayes at the back for Mike Harkey, all hurling well. So they're motoring very well. They've 3 weeks now to prepare for a quarter final. So that's how that group is finished off. As we mentioned, Clonouty is going to be heading to the relegation unless they can go on and win the county final, and then Lockmore into the preliminary quarter final. Bursley second, and of course, who was first in the group? Mike Harkey-Burris, obviously. So Bursley as well weren't in that draw for the preliminary quarter final because they were North champions, so they knew second place was enough for them. So Group 3, we had a dead rubber between Cashel Kincormac's and Ross Gray, but both teams went full strength, and it was a very good game watching it back. Won't spend too long on this because it was a dead rubber, but David McGrath got a goal on the 25th minute to make it 116 to 10 points. It was kind of a ball that was batted down straight to him, and like any good corner forward, he was in the right place at the right time on the edge of the 14. He buried it into the back of the net. Shane Fletcher has continued his good form at Ross Gray. He got a goal 2 minutes later, cut in on his right-hand side, bounced it off the ground, and it bounced high into the top corner. Not much Aaron Brown could do about that. But Cashel led 119 to 113 at the break. Owen Connolly with a scandalous sideline score. I think Stephen Gleeson actually put a clip of it on Twitter today if you want to see it quickly. But it was a sideline from the 65, 49th minute. That made it 124 to 118 to Cashel. But sideline on the 65, and it just flew over the bar. Like, he's such a powerful striker, the ball is, Owen Connolly. Luke Cashin got a 21-yard free and buried it into the back of the net in injury time, and Shane Fletcher got another goal a minute later off the break of a long ball and finished it into the top of the net. But ultimately Cashel run out winners there, 3 points for a finish, 130 to 321. And Cashel, as I mentioned at the start of the county championship kind of preview, that remember I said that when I was leading up to the championship, I was like, Cashel 20 to 1 is a scandalous price. They're going to be up there. They're one of those teams that can go on and win it. And then they kind of underperformed a little bit in the West final, and that kind of threw me off the scent a little bit. But my instincts were strong that this is a really good Cashel team, and I've seen a lot of them as well, just because they went on the long run in the Munster Intermediate there 2 years ago. Would have seen them a lot last year as well. So I've seen a lot of this Cashel team, and Ger Brown is hurling really well at the minute, and they've a real kind of settled look about their team in Cashel. For Ross Gray, it's another good performance for them, but it's another defeat. They've played well in this championship, against Killadangan. They played well, just kind of got caught at the end. Of course, they got caught at the end against Drummond and then they were beaten here against Cashel by 3 points as well. So they have been hurling well throughout the championship, whether it be county or North championship, but just couldn't get over the line, and they'll be hoping that in the next game that they can get over the line. That'll be much more important than the game against Cashel. As I said, that was a dead rubber for both teams, but it wasn't a dead rubber in Dala, where Drummond took on Killadangan. Killadangan 223, Drummond 123. Killadangan continue what is now, I think, a 9-year streak of making the knockout stages. They didn't make it out of the top 2 in their group last year, but they were North champions and had a preliminary quarter-final, so they did play in the knockout stages. But they have been in there every year since 2017, so it's been an incredible run of consistency for Killadangan, but they had to really work for this win over Drum. And to be honest, it all kind of swung in 2 minutes in the second half. Dara O'Dwyer, you might have seen him play with Nina CBS last year, still only 18 years of age. He was unbelievable, I thought, during the game, really kind of full of energy up and down the field, on a lot of ball for Killadangan, and he got 2 goals in about 2 minutes, in around the 45th minute, I'd say, that game. And Killadangan were down by 3 points at the time. He gets a first goal, brings it back level, and a few minutes later he gets a second goal to go into the lead. And they were both kind of long balls that he had done it a few times in the game where he read breaks really well, and for both of the goals he read the breaks really well. And one of them he just flicked in past Owen Collins. It just kind of broke in behind everyone. Owen Collins had to rush off his line to try and get to the ball before Dara O'Dwyer, but Dara O'Dwyer just got there first and swept it into the back of net. So to be honest, that was the key moments in the match. I'll get my notes here actually, because I was commentating on this match for Tip FM. So yeah, scores and things like that in the game. First half, Shamie Callan got a brilliant goal. Lorcan Campion made a brilliant run down the middle, popped a hand pass to Shamie Callan, who was kind of waiting just off the edge of the square, and the ball bounced off the ground. It wasn't a hand pass to hand, it bounced on the ground in front of Shamie and kind of popped up, and he volleyed it first time, kind of half volley off his left hand side. And we were saying on commentary, like, Shamie makes that look easy, but that's not easy. If it was on your stronger side or your more natural side striking, you'd say, okay, it's a little bit easier. But on your, again, I'm quote unquote bad side, I doubt Shamie Callan has a bad side, that's a difficult skill. But it was a brilliant goal for Shamie Callan, and it was level at the break. 110 for Drum, 13 points for Killadangan. Sorry, I went mind blank there. But one thing to mention, Joe Gallagher was playing at full back for Killadangan. He is some yoke, he can play anywhere, he has played everywhere for Killadangan in the last kind of 2 decades at this stage now. But he was full back. I don't know if I've seen him play there before, but it was needs must because James Quigley still out injured. They'll hope to have him back at some stage in the knockout stages, as far as I'm aware. Whether they'd have him back for a quarter final, I'm not sure, and whether they can get on later in the championship, they'd have to see after that. So he's a big loss at the minute for Killadangan. Paul Flynn, 6 points on the day. He was just brilliant. He's so efficient, kind of. He just gets on ball, gets into these spaces, can score from kind of difficult angles. He was really, really good. Alan Flynn, centre back, solid as always, got a point to his name. Ty Gallagher with 2. Willie Connors added a point. Sean Hayes did go off injured in the game. That's a worry for Killadangan. He seemed to kind of roll his ankle or something before half time. Went in full forward at the start of the second half, but didn't look comfortable. He was replaced by Johnny Horn who's been one of those players playing for years for Killadangan. Talking to Darragh Egan after the game, he kind of mentioned that Johnny Horn hadn't played at the senior grade for a few years at this stage, but he came on and scored 2 points in the second half when it was really important. Brian Mallochny had a really fine game. He was having a good battle with Owen Kendi, but he got 2 points, but he was winning a lot of ball, winning a lot of frees, and he looks in really good nick at the minute as well. So Brian Mallochny back to his best. Billy Seymour finished with 7 points on the day, and Tom Boland came on in that second half. I think he's only in 5th year and got a point. Could have had a goal as well. He forced a save out of Owen Collins. It was a brilliant save from Owen Collins, but Tom Boland probably put it in the most favourable position for Owen Collins, kind of at his hurley height, but it was still a good dive and save and a good reaction there from Owen Collins. Barry Hogan made a brilliant save in the second half. Shamey Canlon got onto the ball and it kind of half opened up, so he just took it on. He was kind of on the 45 and he brought it up just around the 21 and he kind of jinked one way, jinked the other, jinked one way, jinked the other, and then struck it low across Barry Hogan, bouncing off the ground. He was maybe about 20 yards out as he was striking, but it was a really awkward one, hard ground. Barry Hogan done very well to kind of turn that around for a 65. Mike Fitzpatrick had a brilliant game, best I've seen him hurl for Drum anyway. He got 5 points from play. Cormac Fitzpatrick got 3 points. John Campion in the second half came alive, he got 3 points. David Collins with 2 as well. But for Drum, they were, to be fair, they were probably just that little bit behind Killadangan. Like Killadangan had 11 wides, Drum only had 5. But it was those 2 goals. Like Drum could have easily won this game as well. It was those 2 Darrow Dwyer goals that made all the difference in the second half. Darren Moran went off injured as well. He started the game for Killadangan, so he's another one they'll be hoping isn't too bad. But I think Killadangan will be absolutely delighted that they avoided the preliminary quarterfinals, because they just had a few sore bodies and lads injured, lads carrying knocks. That extra week for them is huge, because not only do you have the extra week to recover, but you also don't have an extra game to play, because whoever the teams that are in the preliminary quarterfinal, whoever wins that has to play the following weekend, which is very difficult. So Killadangan will be counting their blessings there that they avoided the preliminary quarterfinal, but a big win for them. For Drum and Inch, it is disappointing. They're a team that got to a semi-final last year, gave us a whole pile of entertainment with that quarterfinal win against Drum last time out, with those 7 goals and Shamey Canlon scoring on his knees or on his arse nearly when he scored that goal last year. So it's a pity to see them out of the championship, because they're a team I do enjoy watching. But it's Killadangan who go marching on, and they were worthy winners on the night up in Dollar. Now we're on to Group 4 in the County Senior Championship, and this is where all the drama was. JK Brackens 323, Mullinahone 26 points. So this was on Sunday afternoon. I was in Cloughjordan doing commentary on the radio of Nina Rogue against Tumivara, and Nina 317, Tumivara 114. So a win for Nina was always going to put them through in second behind Brackens, and then it was a matter of who finishes 4th in the group. And the way it played out, I'll pull up the permutations here. So it was a Nina win and a JK Brackens win. So that is this top scenario. And in my original permutations, I had Mullinahone minus 12, and I was informed by Michael Quinn, the PRO, on Saturday night that there had been a change to the scoreline in one of the matches, and that Mullinahone's score difference should have actually been minus 11. So I had to change that on my sheet. I didn't get time to change it on the stuff that I had put up. And in my head, I was thinking, the likelihood of that becoming too much of an issue is not going to matter. But I was wrong. Of course, it became the big issue, because Mullinahone lost the game. Now, it was originally reported that they lost by 6 points. JK Bracken's Twitter had it up that it was a 6-point win for JK Brackens. So as I was following the game while commentating on Tip FM, that's what I was going off. So I done my calculations. Mullinahone lost by 6 points. And then, so that was Mullinahone minus 17. And then Tumivara lost the game by, what did they lose? By 317 to 114. So they lost the game by 9 points. So that puts them back to minus 15, okay? So score difference wise, 2 minus 15, Mullinahone minus 17. Mullinahone finished bottom of the group. Fair enough, all that's okay. and we were talking about it on there. Ken Hogan was on commentary with me, and as I was following the scores at the end, Darren McCarthy had a few frees where you're like, he has to score this because the score difference, whatever. And then it came out maybe 25 minutes after the full-time whistle, I was still in Clough-Jordan, that there was an issue, and the referee had said that the score was actually 3-22 for JK Bracken's 27 points for Mullinahone. So that's a 2-point swing. It goes from a 6-point loss for Bracken's to or 6-point loss for Mullinahone to just a 4-point loss. So that would mean Mullinahone go to minus 15 on the score difference, the same as Toomevara. So what happens then? Then it goes to scores first. So how much you scored in the 3 games in the group. And as I had it done up, Mullinahone scored 167 in their 3 games, and Toomevara scored 253. So 253 is 59 points. Mullinahone scored 167, that's 70 points. So that meant Mullinahone scored more than Toom. Toom were in relegation, and it was kind of like a shock around Clough-Jordan for the people that were still there to be like, oh my God, Toom were in relegation here. And that's kind of how it was for Saturday night. Then word started to filter through that, no, that was a 6-point game. Everyone else who was at the game, the scoreboard said it was a 6-point game. Clubber's scoreboard said it was a 6-point game. People that were doing reports for the newspapers said it was a 6-point game. So what happened was, as far as I'm aware, the referee sent in his report of the game on Monday, and he had it a 6-point game for a finish. It was originally sent in on the Sunday evening that it was a 4-point game, and it was amended that it was a 6-point game. So it's back to minus 17 score difference for Mullinahone, and that is why they finish bottom of the group. So kind of confusing, and we got there in the end. It's straightforward for a finish. People are saying, like, a few comments. We'll get to some of the listener comments now. If I scroll down, no, that's not the document I want. Some of the listeners were on to me. Let me go down here. Some of the listeners were on saying, so Reese, Mert and John all asked my thoughts on the Toomevara Mullinahone situation, and John said that Toom getting out of relegation due to clubber footage is a dangerous precedent to set. To be fair, I can see where he's coming from, but I don't think, I think a worse scenario here would be Toom having to play a relegation semi-final when on merit they shouldn't have to. Their score difference was 2 points better than Mullinahone, so why would Toom have to play in relegation? That's kind of my point of view. The fairest option, the fairest outcome has been reached here. So look, it's a sickener for Mullinahone, because for a good while they would have been like, okay, we're safe. Thankfully, we don't have to worry about relegation semi-finals, and now they do. So that's just how it goes. It comes down to fine margins. Toom hit an awful lot of bad wides. We'll go down through that game in a moment, but that's the fine margin. So does it set a bad precedent? I don't think so. I don't think it was just clubber footage, and the scores were scored. Bracken's won the game by 6 points. It should be recorded that they won the game by 6 points. It's not I suppose if a ball was hit wide, if an umpire waved a shot wide and it should have been over the bar, but it goes down as a wide, referee waved it wide at the time and play continued, I think that's final. That's final. That can't be, you can't look back on footage and say, look, that was over the bar looking at this footage. I think that's a different thing, and on this occasion it was more so the scores were got by each team, and when the referee done his tally, he had it wrong by 4 at the end, and then he realised, and they said, oh no, it should be 6, and that was it. And no one can argue that it wasn't 6 points. So that's where I am with the whole thing. So we'll get back to more listener comments later as well, but thanks everyone for sending in any of your queries as well. And a lot of people were on to me even Sunday evening wondering what the story was, and I was kind of saying that, like, by all accounts, I think by the time this is all said and done, it will be Mullinahone who will finish 4th in the group, because I presume it would have just gone down to an appeal, and it would have been process followed through, and then it could have got messy. So I think it's reached a fair enough conclusion. But the game itself, Bracken's 323, Mullinahone 26 points. Bracken's, this was a dead rubber for them. They were already guaranteed top of the group, but they went full strength. They didn't have Lyndon Fairbrother. He's still recovering. He was in a boot when they played Toomevara last time. And I presume, well, I think the wording around that time was that he will be okay to play because they would have known at that point that they topped the group. So they felt that he would be able to play in the knockout stage. So that all remains to be seen, of course, but he was out missing. Jamie Ormond got a brilliant goal in the 12th minute. You might have seen the clip of this going around. It was a ball played forward to Shane Doyle, touches it down high above his head, one hand on the hurley, little flick around the corner almost, into the stride of Jamie Ormond. He took it in, put it into the back of the net, 1-3 to 4 points after 12 minutes. Just about a minute later, or 3 minutes later, Kieran O'Shea hit the crossbar after his brother Padraig played a lovely crossfield ball into him and just rattled the crossbar. Micheál Dunn with some brilliant scores. I said at this earlier in the podcast, I was really impressed with Mullinahone in this game. If I pull up the, where is it, my trusty match program here, just to have some of the names down in front of me. But Micheál Dunn has been shooting the lights out in the championship this year. He got some great scores. Martin Keogh, friend of the show, Martin Keogh, he was messaging me over the weekend wondering exactly what the situation was going. And he scored some brilliant points, all kind of long distance from wing back. He got 5 points from play. Enda Keane as well got a few brilliant scores, including a class sideline. So there was a huge spread of scores there for Mullinahone. Sam Rowan as well got a few nice scores, kind of went in full forward in the second half. But Jamie Ormond got a second goal in first half injury time. He broke through, kind of running across the 14, a little bit off balance, but he shot low and into the bottom corner. 2-8 for Brackens, 17 points at half time for Mullinahone. So Mullinahone put up a brilliant first half score. Now they were playing a bit with the aid, of a bit of a breeze as far as I'm aware, down in Cashel for that game. The third quarter though, Brackens won it 8 points to 4 and they went up by a point, and then they got a goal, scrappy kind of Éanna McBride goal on the 48th minute. Andrew Ormond with some good play flicked it forward to Shane Doyle. He played it across the square and there was kind of an open goal there. The ball was kind of fumbled by a defender and then Éanna McBride was almost on the ground and he flicked it into the back of the net. That made it 3-17 to 21 points. So that is a 5-point lead at that point. But it was back to 2 points 5 minutes later. Mullinahone got a couple of great scores. Jack Shelley was another one of those lads who got some brilliant scores throughout the game, and he brought it back to 2 points. But Brackens will push on to win by 6. Andrew Ormond, 6 points from play on the day for him. Jamie Ormond, 2-7 in the game. Shane Doyle was lively as well. And did they have any more spread of scores here just while I have it in front of me? I think that was it. And the thing I wanted to mention, I'd say if you were doing possession stats, as in what player gets on the most possessions, Conor Cadell, he is on the ball so much for this JK Brackens team. It's unbelievable. And Paddy Cadell is hurling serious stuff as well. So it's a big win for Brackens. Well, in terms of keeping their momentum going, it's a win that doesn't mean much on paper, but in terms of mood in the camp and momentum, it's a good win for them. For Mullinahone, I thought they played really, really well in this game. So it's disappointing for them that they're back in relegation semi-final. But again, like we said earlier, they're like Roscrea, like Upperchurch, like Clonoulty, they're hurling well. Like a team that are good and a team that are hurling well are going to get relegated here because there's 4 really good teams in the relegation semi-finals. So the other game in this group was Nina Rogue against Toomevara, and in all honesty, Nina were just far better on the day, much stronger. I thought they just looked really fit and athletic, Nina, at the minute, and 3-17 to 1-14 winners. But Toom started off. Darren McCarthy got 2 points early on. Toom went 2 points up to no score, and then Nina just kind of flicked the switch, and after 15 minutes it was 1-5 to 2 points. They scored 1-5 without reply, or 1-4 without reply, and then 1-5 without reply, and 1-5 before a reply. Does that make sense? They got 1-5 and then Toom scored, so there was a reply, but it was after they got 1-5. But yeah, it was all Nina after that point. Their goal was a long ball in. Philip Hickey. It was like Philip Hickey, Jake Morris, 2-man full forward line. Philip Hickey snapped it, popped a lovely pass to Ben West, who was coming off his shoulder. Philip Hickey was coming out from goals, caught the ball, popped it off to Ben West. He was barreling in on goal and batted it into the back of the net. Then Jake Morris got a goal in the 19th minute. In all honesty, it was bad defending from Toom. One of the defenders went up to bat the ball, completely missed it. Jake had ghosted in behind and he was never going to miss. He bats it past a frustrated Rory Breslan, who was just frustrated that his defenders let that ball through so easily. That made it 2-6 to 3 points after 20 minutes, and you kind of felt Toom really need something to happen here, and they were gifted a goal. In all honesty, it was Sam O'Farrell played a ball across his own 45. He got a big shout from someone to play it across, and two Nina men just kind of left it, and that gave Darren McCarthy a chance to come in and just flick it away from them, flicked it forward as far as Austin Duff, and he put it into the back of the net, 2-7 to 1-3. And then you felt Toom could get a bit of momentum here, and they got their chances. They hit two bad wides after that and just kind of lost a bit of momentum. They went in 2-10 to 1-7 down at half time. But Toom, like the wide count for a finish, Toom hit 12, Nina hit 11, but Toom's the wides that Toom hit were really poor wides in the first half, the ones that kind of just suck all the momentum out of you. But in fairness to Toom, they were back to, they got 2 points to start the second half, back to a 4-point game. Nina didn't score for the first 12 minutes of the second half, but Toom only scored 2 points in that period. And Nina pushed on after that and really kind of sealed the game on the 47th minute. Ben West just drove a long ball up the field, and the Toomey Vara full back line just kind of got caught under the ball, didn't kind of judge the flight of it. We're possibly watching Jake Morris as the ball was being struck and didn't know exactly where the ball was, and it was almost like an NFL wide receiver ghosting in behind. Jake was in behind, was able to catch it at kind of belly button height, hip height, and was in and put it low past the goalkeeper. Nothing Rory Breslan could do. 3-12 to 1-9 at that point, and it was game over from then. Toom hit some frees at the end where Darren McCarthy was looking over to the sideline wondering what should we do, and I could see Liam O'Kelly, the Toom manager, and their selectors kind of talking amongst each other, and they were saying over the bar, and Darren McCarthy got a big free out on the sideline. He missed a few frees uncharacteristically in the game as well, but he got a big one out on the sideline at one point that proved to be an important score because with the score difference and all that. So it's the end of the year for Toomey Vara, and it's probably a year that never really got going for Toom, unfortunately. So they are out of the championship and finished now for the year. We did have a listener comment. I'll get to that comment now from Max. If I scroll down, he just wanted to mention that Darren McCarthy hasn't been looking himself, I suppose. And I suppose for Darren, he had a lot of injuries this year, and like that kind of, like Toomey Vara in general, just fits and starts kind of ready to go, then a bit of an injury, knocked him back at the start of the county championship. So I hope that he can just rest and recover now. He's played a lot of hurling in the last few years, Darren McCarthy. If you look back to 2024 Harty Cup campaign with Nina, all the way through to that with the under-20s, all the way through to the final. Toom had a good run in maybe the under-19s around that year, or under-20, under-21 in the county championship, then in with Tipperary and the Tip under-20s, win the All-Ireland. Toom were in a county final in 2024. They went to where did they get to last year? The quarter-final, was it? Where they were beaten by Lockmore. And now, another under-21 campaign with the club and all that over the winter. Fitzgibbon, back with Tip this year, back with Toom. You'd just like to see maybe him rest, recover, and get himself right for next year, because he's a hugely important player for Tipperary. So that is how Group 4 finished up. Really impressed with Nina. I thought they had lots of performers around. Barry Heffernan just mops up everything in that half-back line for Nina. Sam O'Farrell was on an awful lot of ball. He just has this gift of finding spaces around the field, Sam O'Farrell. Like the amount of times, if you just watch Nina play, the amount of times Sam O'Farrell gets the ball and there's no one near him. And like that's not by accident. The other team will be saying, we have to have someone on Sam O'Farrell at all times, but it's easier said than done, and he's just able to ghost into these areas and make himself available for teammates. And Philip Hickey back in the forward line was dangerous throughout. Josh Keller running as strong as always, did go off with a bit of a head knock and surprisingly came back on, but went back off after that. So hopefully all is well for Josh Keller, real fine player with Nina. So yeah, brilliant performance from Nina. Conor Ryan, very good in the middle of the field as well for them. And they go marching on to the preliminary quarterfinals now against Clonoulty Rossmore. So we'll fly down through, just having a look at the kind of final standings here in the Senior Hurling Championship, So our group winners: Thurles Sarsfields, Moycarkey Burris, Cashel Kincormac's and JK Brackens. The four of them, along with Bursley and Kildangan, they can put the feet up for 3 weeks. They won't be, but they could if they wanted to. They won't be playing for 3 weeks' time. They are into the quarterfinals. So at least two of those teams will be in a county semi-final this year. And hoping to join them are Holy Cross Ballycahill, who take on Lockmore Castellini in a preliminary quarter-final, and Clonoulty Rossmore, who take on Nina Rogue in a preliminary quarter-final. So it's just going to be, there are 10 teams there that are left in it, and you wouldn't be surprised if any of them won it. It's brilliant. And JJ Kennedy made the observation on Extra Time on Tip FM last night, just that there's a couple of new teams coming through that hadn't been there in a few years. Moycarkey Burris, of course, have been there in the last couple of years, but still, as he called them, a relatively new team. Cashel Kincormac's likewise, JK Brackens likewise, Nina and Kildangan have been thereabouts in the last few years. Bursley, while they got all the way to an All-Ireland final after winning the 2019 county final, haven't been in the knockout since 2021. Great to have them back, and of course Holy Cross Ballycahill as well, and Lockmore Castellini and Clonoulty Rossmore. So it's just set up brilliantly now for a few weeks' time, and that is how the senior championship is. So we've 51 minutes done. We need to probably pick up the pace. So let's do that now. Let's get down to the Seamus Arena, and I'm not even going to bother going through who I think is going to win the Dan Breen, because I don't know. It's too close. It's too tight to call. Do I have a fancy? I don't. I actually kind of don't. I'm just going to sit back with my feet up and enjoy the ride that is the Dan Breen Championship in Tipperary, because there is so much to like about it, and I just can't wait for the games to come in a few weeks' time. So let's go to the Premier Intermediate first, and a lot of drama in Group 1 in the Premier Intermediate over the weekend. Moyne Temple 121, Silvermines 218, and Sean Tracy's 224, Gartnahoe Glengoole 221. How does that leave the group looking? Well, it means Moyne Temple topped the group on 4 points. They have Sean Tracy's on head-to-head, but Sean Tracy's finishes group runners-up. Gartnahoe finished third, and Silvermines finish fourth in the group. Joe, if you're looking at my tier lists at the start of the year, I think I would have had Sean Tracy's and Moyne Temple both at the will have to be careful, because I don't think either of them had gotten out of the group in the last few years. I know for Sean Tracy's, it's the first time they'd gotten out of the group. And for Moyne Temple I think it might have been their first time getting out of the group since they came up in 2022 was their first year up, and they'd been in relegation in 3 of the 4 years. So it's absolutely a brilliant turnaround for both of these teams. And they both had to do it in dramatic fashion over the weekend. So let's get to it. Silvermines 218, Moyne Temple 121, a draw game here in this one in Drumban. We'll talk you through it. Jason Ford got a goal from a 21-yard free, which he's done a couple of times already this year. That was on the 15th minute. That made it 1-4-5. And Carl Tracy got a goal 3 minutes later after brilliant work from Danny Quinn out in front of his man, won the ball, turned his man, brought it in across the goals, hand-passed it in, and finished into the back of the net then by Cathal Tracy. But Conor Bowe got a brilliant goal on the 24th minute. You might have seen the clip of this. He wins a kind of a ruck on the 45. There's about 3 lads around him, powers his way past them, ball on the hurley. Not sure that he bounced off the ground or not, but continued his run, brought it into the 14 at an angle and drove it, powered it into the bottom corner across the goalkeeper. Brilliant finish for that one. But Silvermines led by 5 at the break, 212 to 110. Second half, kind of tit for tat, then a big moment on the 52nd minute. Paul Maher in the goals for Moyne Temple 2. He would a big save. It was a Danny Quinn shot. It was a brilliant save, but it was a chance that really should have been a goal for Danny Quinn. He's a really good goal scorer, and he would have really fancied himself to put that ball into the back of the net. It was 2:15 to 1:14 at the time. It would have put the Mines up by 7 with about 7 minutes plus injury time to go. But down the other end, Grode O'Connor got a point, and that made it a 3-point game. But the Silvermines were up by 5 with 5 minutes to go, and Moyne had some kind of late wides that got back into the game. But Oisin Murphy was called for overcarrying. It was one of those ones where a player has 2 lads around him. he's kind of bottled up, and it's, you know, the ref is probably going to blow his whistle, but you don't know which way he's going to give the free. On this occasion, he called for steps rather than kind of holding or anything like that. So a free in between the two 65s out near the sideline with 1 point in it, and Gearóid O'Connor levels it. It's 5 minutes into injury time, and you're thinking, wow, what a result. It's a draw game. But Sean McGrath goes down the other end and instantly scores for Silvermines to put them back up by a point. But then Gearóid O'Connor wins a long puck out, just brilliant leadership, put the hand up for the puck out, won it, was fouled straight away, put the ball over the bar himself, and that was it. And just, I've written down great leadership between him and Conor Bowe at different times in that game, just brilliant leadership. But I don't want to just mention, anytime people mention Moyne Temple Tuohy, they nearly just mention Conor Bowe and Gearóid O'Connor. Cormac Deegan is a player that's doing very well for them at the minute. Tom Meade got a few nice scores as well. Paul Maher, as we said, made some of those saves, and Finn Jones has been having a very good year for them as well so far this year. But one kind of thing I wanted to mention, I had it there, it's the first time they've got out of the group since they came up in, I think they won the intermediate in 2021, and they had been in relegation in 3 of the 4 years. And I heard Gearóid O'Connor in one of the interviews saying that they felt they just hadn't done themselves justice at this grade, or maybe it was Conor Bowe, actually, it was Conor Bowe speaking to Mark Dunn after the Girton Who game. So that was a huge result. And I wanted to mention their manager, Dermot Fogarty. Thought he spoke really well with Stephen Gleeson on the Clubber coverage after, and he just seems like a lad you can really get behind if you're from Moyne Temple Tuohy, and a fella that just his passion for the club kind of oozes out of him while he's talking. So you can see why Moyne Temple Tuohy have really rallied this year, and you can see why they are where they are because of his leadership. So that was something I wanted to mention as well. The other game in this group, just what a result, 224 to 221. Sean Tracy's beating Girton Who Glengool. Girton Who Glengool out of the championship at the group stages. They were in the back end of this championship for the last 2 or 3 years, semi-finalists in 2 years in a row, and kind of beaten by a point by Upperchurch Drumban last year, and Upperchurch go on to win the All-Ireland intermediate. So they're really, really close, Girton Who Glengool. But Sean Tracy's value for the win, they had it won, they had it lost, and then they had it won. So it was a brilliant win. We'll talk you through it. Killian Kendi with a goal in injury time was the one to win it for Sean Tracy's. But the game started, a 9th minute goal for Michael Feehan after a rebound of a Paddy Deegan shot, and Tracy's led 116 to 10 points at half time, 9-point lead. They were up by as much as 11, I think, at the start of the second half. Michael Feehan got 1-2 in the first half. Damien Corbett had done a lot of scoring for Girton Who Glengool. He actually went for a goal from a 21-yard free just before half time, and it was one of those ones, there was 8 or 9 points in it at the time, but you could easily argue he should have just put the ball over the bar. He went for it, it was stopped, and it was a 9-point lead at the break for Sean Tracy's. Second half starts, and there was a big goal chance for Girton Who at the start of the second half. The ball was kind of played across the edge of the square, and it was not quite an open goal, but if there was contact made with the ball, it was going to be a goal. But it just bounced kind of hard on the AstroTurf and made it difficult to kind of volley into the back of the net, and the chance was gone. But Darragh Maher got a goal after a strong run on the 38th minute. That brought it back to 119 to 112, and then Girton Who just went on a run. They started getting points, and then they got another goal. 53rd minute, Ronan Tehan with the goal this time. By no means, as they say in golf, there's no pictures on the scorecard. This goal counts as much as any other goal. It was kind of an awkward one. The ball dribbled across the square. There was an empty net, and he kicked it into the back of the net. That put Girton Who into the lead after 53 minutes. So, they had a huge turnaround. They were what were they? They were 119 to 12 points down after 38 minutes, and 14 minutes later, they were leading 219 to 120. So in that time, they scored 2-7 to a point. They outscored Sean Tracy's in that time. So it kind of looked like this is it now. Girton Who were going to push on, but Sean Tracy's stayed in the game. I thought Paddy Deegan was brilliant. As I've written down here, he seemed to be everywhere watching this game back. He just seemed to be up and down the field, and he's a nice hurler as well. Ben Carey got 4 points in the game. Big moment in injury time. Tracy's were down by a point. Girton Who were up by a point, and I think it was Bobby Dohney, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Bobby Dohney had a chance and he went for a goal. He could have put it over the bar. It was saved by Shane Stapleton in the goals for Sean Tracy's, and that proved a big moment. Colm Kennedy goes down the end, down the far side, levels the game, and then the big moment came at 63rd minute. James Butler out on the sideline, nothing really on, so he just head down and started running, beat his man, took it down the sideline, and played a hand pass, went to shoot, the ball dropped. He was kind of hooked, like he threw the ball up kind of on the 14 to strike, knew he was going to get hooked, so the ball just bounced on the ground. Killian Kennedy took it, low shot, bounced off the ground, past Timmy Dunn into the back of the net, and Gerton Who are sickened. Sean Tracy's with a huge goal, huge celebrations, and then the puck out goes long, goes out for a sideline is taken, full-time whistle is blown, and just unbelievable scenes. The clubber footage kind of zooms into the stand, and there's people running onto the field, people jumping up and down. It's like what you dream of in club championship, last minute goal to win the game, and just the parish coming on to celebrate. It's kind of what the club championship is all about, and it was just absolutely class to see. So huge win for Sean Tracy's, and a lot of fine players. I really like James Butler. I saw him with Thurles CBS last year. Seems to just have a real kind of eye for goal, and he was very good. I mentioned Paddy Deegan as well. Again, flicking through this, Killian Kennedy got I think 1-3 or 1-4 in the game, so he was to the fore as well. I mentioned Brian Carey with his 4 points. Shawnee Ryan Rogers at centre back as well. Just top stuff for Sean Tracy's. And I did have a message on Twitter from an anonymous account with 0 followers and 0 following saying, what do you have to say about Tracy's now? So, that's a bit precious by whoever that is. I would have had Tracy's probably in the will have to be careful bracket. And it's not because of anything against Sean Tracy's. And I always say it when I'm making these predictions, don't take it personally. You know more about Sean Tracy's than I do. If you're from Sean Tracy's, you know more about how they're going this year or whatever. I'm just going off what I've seen and what's kind of happened in the past and the groups they're in and things like that. But absolutely there on merit, Sean Tracy's. That is a huge win. And I said those scenes on full time were just class. So fair play to all in Sean Tracy's for that win. They get out of the group just behind Moyne Temple Toohey, and they had a real poor loss to Moyne Temple Toohey in round 2, and they had a red card in that game and things like that. And you were just thinking Gerton Who should have enough here, but they just didn't. Sean Tracy's were a better team on the day and get that 3-point win. So very big disappointment there for Gerton Who, but for Sean Tracy's, they go marching on. And as we mentioned, they have been drawn in the preliminary quarterfinals. That's not what I meant to press there. They've been drawn in the preliminary quarterfinals to play Thurles Sarsfield. So that is how their season will take shape into the knockout stages. Let's talk about Thurles Sarsfields. They were beaten in Group 2, 221 to 119 by St. Mary's. St. Mary's were up 111 to 12 points at the half. Peter McGarry got a goal just before half-time after a class, just big catch from Cathal Deely, popped it in to Peter McGarry and he put it into the back of the net. Just kind of skipping through this game, Pa Burke got a goal from a 21, a brilliant strike in injury time. That brought it back to 3 points. It was kind of St. Mary's winning throughout the game, and then it was back to 3 points after that. 121 to 118 after that 21-yard free from Pa Burke, but Peter McGarry got his second goal of the game 2 minutes later in injury time. It was actually kind of the last puck of the game, and that finished the game. What it finished 221 to 119, so it was only a 2-point game when he had the ball in his hands and he put it into the back of the net. Just a brilliant finish under the crossbar. He scored 2-9 on the day, Peter McGarry, so a real fine performance from him. A good story from this game, Harry Fitzgibbon back for Thurles Sarsfields. Missed a lot with a kind of just dangerous neck injury last year as well, so brilliant to see Harry Fitzgibbon back. Jack Lanigan got I think he got 9 or 10 points in the game as well for Thurles Sarsfields. But for St. Mary's, big win for them. They go second in the group now, and because they're South champions, they avoid any preliminary quarter final. So they can rest up now, focus on the football they have coming this weekend, and then prepare in 3 weeks' time for a county quarter final. The other game in this group, I don't actually have the results written down. Oh, I do. Here it is. Carrick Swan, 16 points. Killinall, 121. Killinall people, I owe you an apology. I went with Carrick Swan to win this one just because it was a dead rubber, and I thought, who knows what way these teams are going to line out. Joe Dwyer didn't start I don't think for Killinall, but I think I heard his name mentioned in the second half now that I think of it. Stephen Tobin didn't play for Carrick-Swan, nor did their goalkeeper, Decky Waters, or Kieran Lonergan, so it was Adam Kerwick who went in goals for Carrick-Swan. Killinall up 7 points to 4 after 17 minutes. Tony Ryan with all 7 points for Killinall in that opening 20 minutes. Callum Walsh levelled it though. Brilliant aerial win, snapped the ball over a fella's head and then put it over the bar with 2 minutes to go before half time to make it 7 points apiece. But then a Tony Ryan free and then Dara Doyle and Oisín Shelley points from play before half time put Killinall up by 2. So 10 points to 8 at the break. 8 of those points for Killinall were from Tony Ryan and then 1 each from Dara Doyle and Oisín Shelley. Second half starts a brilliant score on the sideline from Paddy Feehan. He was on the 14 on the sideline, manages to put it over the bar, and Owen Shaw with a brilliant score as well 2 minutes later. But the goal came on the 45th minute for Killinall. Tom Stakelum with it. A big catch by his brother Mark, and he pops it off to Tom, number 11 on his back, down 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper, puts it into the back of net, 1-14 to 12 points at the time. Tony Ryan could have had a goal a minute later, but Adam Kerwick made the save in the goals for Carrick-Swan. And from that point on, it was just Killinall who not coasted, but they were the stronger team for the last quarter of the game, and it never looked like there was going to be any other result, only a Killinall win. Some of the just general oversight or thoughts on Killinall, they're a really, really strong team. They've got some big ball winners up front, the 2 Stakelums, Paddy Feehan, they can all win their ball. They've nice kind of strikers as well. The likes of Fionn Fitzgerald is someone who I've liked in this championship so far, and of course Tony Ryan has showed his scoring ability. And then at the back, they're really strong at the back. Nothing's going to get through easy there with the O'Dwyers. Jimmy Feehan back there as well. Charlie Barrett seems to be hurling really well at the minute for Killinall, so they're going to be a really tough team to beat. And apologies Killinall people for backing against you. You've proved me wrong. But as I said, it was a dead rubber. They're always hard games to predict. But Killinall, 3 wins from 3, absolutely motoring in both codes, and they go marching on to top that group with St Mary's in behind them in second place. Third of Sarsfields, though, finished third in the group. They do have a preliminary quarter-final. They will play Sean Tracy's there in that preliminary quarter-final. So let's power on then to Group 3. And another dead rubber fixture was Templederry against Lurra. It finished a draw game, 2-24 apiece. Both teams went strong. They didn't kind of play all the subs or anything like that. No Michael Dolan to start for Lurra, but he did come back and did play in the second half. There was no Patrick Bonner-Maher. Still no Derek Carey for Templederry, no Thomas Stapleton for them either. First goal of the game on the 11th minute, a well-worked Owen McIntyre goal, ball inside. Was one, popped off to a runner, another hand pass inside off the shoulder to Owen McIntyre, who finished from close range. It was actually a brilliant goal, like perfectly well worked. One lad wins it, pops it to another, he pops it inside, and it's a goal. So it was 112 to 14 points at half-time in favour of Lurra. Second half starts, Sean Collins run and flicked it forward towards Colin Murray, and he puts it into the back of net on the 37th minute. That made it 118 to 114 in favour of Templederry at the time. And then Sean Ryan got a penalty on the 46th minute. That made it 221 to 117. So Templederry went up by 7 points into the last quarter. Lurra with some really bad wides in the last 10. They had a big goal chance brought back for a free. Yeah, the goalkeeper John Kennedy was off his line, played a ball in field, and it was kind of intercepted, and he had 30, 40 yards to get back to his goals, and someone had got back on the line covering for him, but Lurra looked to have broken through, broke the tackle, but the referee just brought it back for the free. So I'd say John Kennedy was a happy man making his way back into the goals after that. But that was certainly a goal chance there for Lurra. But Conor Kennedy got a goal on the 62nd minute. A brilliant run down the middle from Owen McIntyre. Every podcast I talk about Owen McIntyre, I think, but brilliant run down through the middle, and he hand passed it off to Conor Kennedy. He finished it. That made it 2-24 each. Then Colin Fogarty puts Lurra up, and then Sean Ryan is fouled, and he scores the free to level it. 112 for Sean Ryan on the day. So 2-24 apiece. Entertaining game. Both teams will take a lot from it as they go their separate ways now in the championship. Lurra march on to the quarterfinals. Templederry will have a relegation semi-final to contend with. The other game in that group is one I don't really want to talk about. Burgess 10 points, Moneygall 26. Moneygall just sensational on the day. Burgess, unfortunately we were just way off it, way off our own levels. Didn't get up to the pitch of the game nearly at any stage, unfortunately. 17 points to 7 at half time, and Moneygall just kind of powered on in the second half. 7 points from play for Shawnee Kennelly, he looked really good. Owen Dunn with 5, Adam Hogan with 4, Joe Fogarty won a lot of ball. Cormac, Andy Hoolan, very good in around the middle of the field as well. I think they have Owen White, man of the match, big tall midfielder. He got on a lot of ball as well. So it was just obviously a very worthy win for Moneygall. We just, we're 3 points off them in the North Championship, and we just didn't get to those levels at all, unfortunately. So a disappointing end to our year, but for Moneygall, they go powering forward, and they're a really, really good team, a strong team, good kind of age profile, and yeah, look very fit at the moment. So they'll be playing Éire Óg Anacarty in the knockout stages in the preliminary quarterfinals in Littleton on Sunday, the 6th of September at 1:30 as you see the fixture there. So on go Moneygall and Lura out of Group 3. Burgess were finished for the year, and Templederry are in the relegation semi-finals. Group 4 was a little bit tighter on Sunday afternoon. It was Sunday, wasn't it? Yeah, it was early Sunday afternoon, I believe. Let me pull this up in front of you now. Yeah, Sunday at 1:30. Ballina 2:12, Borland Duala 3:16, and Golden Kilfeacle 3:25, Éire Óg Anacarty 1:25. Let's talk you through these games. We'll start with Borland Duala 3:16 to 2:12 winners over Ballina. Good news for Ballina is that Jack Collins was back to start for them. Key player, Tipperary under-20 panellist who would have played in the All-Ireland final against Offaly a few years ago. Really fine player, very important player for Ballina. He had been out injured. He was back for this game, but they were down to 14 men after 11 minutes. Paddy O'Donovan, cornerback for Ballina, won a free, kind of got back up, pushed a fella. Something happened off the ball, and he received a red card. That was they were down 4 points to 1 at the time, but very poor first half, 6 points to 4 at half time in favour of Borland Duala. And Ballina, in fairness to him, more than hung in there. They were in the lead with about 10 minutes to go. They turned over Borland on their own 21. Ball broke to Matthew Power. He pulled on it, into the back of the net, 33rd minute of the game. Then Stephen O'Brien brought it just after, I don't know what I've written down there, but he brought it to a level game just after that goal. 1-5 to 8 points early in the second half. Top save from Simon Grace from a Mark Downey shot just after that. Charlie King then got 2 points in a row to give Ballina the lead on the 36th minute, but Mark Downey, after having his earlier shot saved, he got a goal a minute later. So Borland Duala went up 1-9 to 1-7, but Ballina led the game on the 48th minute by a point before Niall Manton got a goal on the 53rd minute for Borland. So this is Borland playing against 14 men, and they just couldn't free themselves away from Ballina. That 53rd minute goal proved important. It was kind of a high ball across the square. Simon Grace went to kind of bat it, just missed the bat. The ball kind of dropped, and Niall Manton was there to put it into the back of the net. And 4 minutes later, Paddy Gahan got a goal, rounded his man in one-on-one, kind of down the end line, and kicked it into the back of the net, 3:13 to 1:12. That was kind of the game. Michael Breen got a 21-yard free and put it into the back of the net in injury time, but the game was gone from Ballina at that point. So not a brilliant performance from Borlahan, but they got there in the end. And for Ballina, disappointing for them. They go into relegation semi-finals, but I thought they did very, very well with 14 men for, from the 11th minute till the end of the game, and up to the 55th minute, let's say, it was a game just until that Paddy Gahan second goal. So disappointing one for Ballina. Mark Downey came on in the first half for Borland. He got some brilliant scores in the game there for them. Tossie Ryan, his usual self, getting some nice scores as well. The other game in that group, watched it back today. Brilliant game to watch back. Éire Óg Anacarty 125, Golden Kilfeacle 325. The injury worry going in here was Jack Leamy, who seemed to go off injured against Borland Duala in round 2. He started the game and he was sensational. Really, really good throughout the game. Aidan Griffin, though, for Éire Óg Anacarty, got a goal after 3 minutes. Ball kind of bounced in behind. He was onto the break. He was in one-on-one and he levelled the game after 3 minutes, 1 goal to 3 points. Darren Mooney made the first of 3 big first half saves. It was from a Jack Bergen shot after 5 minutes, and then he makes another save from a Jack Leamy shot 3 minutes later after a brilliant pass from Ben Curvin just over the top of the last defender into the hands of Jack Bergen. He kind of had to turn back inside the 14 to take a shot, but Darren Mooney had rushed out and made himself big and kept it out. Aidan Griffin and Kevin Fox, both with some great scores on the sideline at different points in the first 20 minutes. It was 1-6 to 9 after 17. And then came Darren Mooney's third save of the first half. This time, a low shot from Ben Curvin on the 21. And Jack Curvin down the other end made a brilliant save in the Golden Kilfeacle goal. A solid save anyway from a Derek Kelly shot on the 21-yard line. So really, really entertaining end-to-end game. 111 to 11 points in favour of Golden at the break. And Golden had another goal 50 seconds into the second half. And Andy Burns' shot was blocked and the rebound fell to Jack Leamy. He put it into the back of the net. Sorry, that was Golden's first goal of the game. And Éire Óg Anacarty, after 45 minutes, so approaching the final quarter of the game, it was Éire Óg leading 120 to 117, but 4 minutes later, on the 49th minute, Andy Burns got himself a goal. Jack Leamy won the puck out, passed it to Sam Hall. He carried it, passed it across the edge of the square to Andy Burns, and he put it into the back of the net. 219 to 121 at the time. I've written down Derek Kelly with some fine scores, which you just kind of come to expect now when you're watching Éire Óg Anacarty. He got some brilliant ones, just kind of over the shoulder, gets the ball back to goals, manages to do a bit of a shimmy and get himself in space, and he's a real kind of classy striker of the ball, and he got some fine scores. But Andy Burns got another goal on the 59th minute. The ball broke to him after running near the goals, and the ball just broke to him. He was kind of running through, ball kind of broke out. I don't know, was it kicked forward or flicked forward, but it broke to him as he was kind of running in, and he controlled it and just one hand into the back of the net. That made it 324 to 124, and that was the game then, 325 to 125 for Golden Kilfeacle. Big win for them. As I've written down, Jack Leamy was really, really good throughout this game. So that's a big, big win for Golden. They're already guaranteed top of this group, but they keep the momentum going and they get a bit of revenge for the West final, which they lost to Éire Óg Anacarty. So that's wins for Borlahan Douala and Golden. So Golden topped the group, Borlahan second, Éire Óg Anacarty finished third, and Ballina finish bottom of the group. So Ballina and Éire Óg Anacarty would have come down to score difference, and Éire Óg had the stronger score difference than Ballina. So Éire Óg finished third in the group, but they do have a preliminary quarter-final, and as we mentioned, in that preliminary quarter-final, they will be playing Moneygall. So Moneygall against Éire Óg Anacarty, Sean Tracy's against Thurles Sarsfields, and Borlahan Douala have been drawn against the Silvermines. So Borlahan Douala finished second in that group, but they will play a preliminary quarter-final. So in terms of the tail of the tape of the Premier Intermediate grade after the knockout stage, or after the group stages, your group winners are Moyne Temple Tuohy, Killinall, Lurra and Golden Kilfeacle. Your runners-up, Sean Tracy's, St Mary's, Moneygall and Borlahan Douala. And then you have preliminary quarter-finalists in Silvermines, Thurles Sarsfields and Éire Óg Anacarty. And then in relegation, you have Silvermines, if they don't go on to win the county final. You have Carrick Swan, Templederry and Ballina. So, God, like, you wouldn't have predicted Carrick Swan and Girton Who to both be out, and you certainly wouldn't have predicted Carrick Swan to be in relegation, but that's just how it is at the minute. And, you know, like in the senior, those are four good teams at this grade in the in the relegation semi-finals. You know, but all these teams would have had fairly realistic expectations of making it out of their group, and here they all are now. One of those four teams will be relegated from the Premier Intermediate Championship, so a good team is going down in this championship. And then at the other end, you've got Moyne Temple Tuohy top in the group there in the quarterfinal. Killinall are in the quarterfinals. Lurra, Golden Kilfeacle, who've had a brilliant start since coming up from the intermediate, 3 wins from 3, and St Mary's also waiting pretty in the quarterfinals. And then it's up to Sean Tracy's, Silvermines, Thurles, Moneygall, Borlahan and Éire Óg Anacarty to fight their way out of the preliminary quarterfinals and into the last 8. So really, really exciting stuff in the Premier Intermediate Championship. Let's now fly down through the Intermediate Championship results. Big win for Kilsheelan Kilcash. They made it 3 wins from 3, and they eliminate last year's county finalists Knockavilla, Donaghskee, Kickham's. Kilsheelan 129 to 415 winners of that one. We'll run you down through that one in a moment's time. And Portroe 329 to 8-point winners over Cloughty Rossmore. One-way traffic in that one. Don't have any notes in that game. It wasn't on Clubber and didn't seem to be much kind of tweets about it, so I wasn't able to see who was doing the scoring for either team there. Portroe led 1-9 to 6 points at half-time, and then absolutely powered home in the second half, scoring 220 to 2 points was the second half score in that one. So powerful stuff there from Portrush to progress to the quarter-finals. But Kilsheelan 129, Knockavilla 415. Mark Keogh didn't start this game but did come on in the second half. Martin Gibbs started in place of him. Barry Keogh, though, his brother, had 3 points from play after 6 minutes. It was 7 points to 1 in the first 7 minutes. A real lightning start for Kilsheelan. Brilliant Jack Breen save in the Knockavilla goals on the 12th minute. And down the other end then, off that save, Elliot Thompson, who's had a really good year for Knockavilla, he scored a goal, 8 points to 1-1 at the time. Senan Mackey got a goal, lovely 1-2 with Cormac Carr, and he was in one-on-one, low finish past the goalkeeper, 12 points to 2-4, so a 2-point lead there at the time. As I mentioned, Barry Keogh 5 points from play in the first half, and it was 19 points to 2-7. Kilsheelan did have the breeze in the first half, so they'll be disappointed with the concession of those goals, but they did lead by 6 points at the break. Senan Butler got the second half off to a flying start for Kilsheelan on the 32nd minute of the game. A brilliant catch from Mikey Maguire, and I have written down Maguire had a right game. He's a very young player. He was with High School Clonmel last year in their brilliant run in the football, really good footballer and a very good hurler as well by all accounts, by the account of me watching this game anyway. He was everywhere on the day and winning the high ball and just always offering himself, and had a big role to play in that Senan Butler goal. Jack Breen puck outs were just absolutely bombs down the field, landing in around the square. One of them went into the back of the net. The commentators were saying Elliot Thompson got a flick on it. You'd have to ask Elliot Thompson now. It looked like, from my vantage point anyway, looking at the camera, that it bounced in the edge of the square from that Jack Breen puck out and went into the back of the net. That made it 121 for Kilsheelan, 310 for Knockavilla. Kilsheelan had a big spread of scores. Senan Butler had 1-3, Barry Keogh had 5 points. I mentioned Michael Maguire and also Micheál Freeney. Another goal though for Knockavilla, Shane Morrissey on the 50th minute. It brought it back to 6 points, 128 to 413. And again, these Jack Breen puckouts causing a lot of just difficulty for the Kilsheelan defence, because they were landing in around the edge of the square, and another one landed in around the edge of the square on the 52nd minute and had forced Oisin O'Donoghue in the Kilsheelan goal to make an important save. It was just a long puck out and it broke to the Kickham's forward. I couldn't even see who was in there because there was so many bodies there, but it was a good save from Oisin O'Donoghue. And after that point, the game kind of petered out. So huge win there for Kilsheelan. And Knockavilla, as we said, finalists last year, and they couldn't make it out of the group this year. They're in a difficult group there with Kilsheelan, Portrush and Clonalty. So it's Kilsheelan who topped the group, Portrush in second, Knockavilla third, and then in fourth place, heading to the relegation semi-finals, is Clonalty Rossmore. What about Group 2? We had a dead rubber fixture between Arvale Rovers, who guaranteed top of the group, and Carrickdavins, who were guaranteed bottom of the group. But it was Carrickdavins who came up with the victory there in that one, 5-16 to 27 points. So that is what, a 4-point win for Carrickdavins. Arvale led by 3 points at the break, 15 points to 2-6. But it was Carrickdavins who pushed on in the second half there to win that game, 3-10 in the second half, playing 12 points. So a good win there for Carrickdavins. And that puts them back on track, because they had 2 really poor first opening rounds, real low scoring. So that will do them the world of good as they prepare for the relegation semi-finals. And for Arvale Rovers, it's one of those ones where you're already through. I don't know, I didn't see the team sheets to the rest of those lads or whatever, but it's one of those ones where it's like, God, you never like losing the game, but they can rest up now for 3 weeks and prepare for a quarter-final nonetheless. The other game in this group, though, was a do-or-die game for both Clonakilty and Shannon Rovers, although Clonakilty, if they lost the game, did have a preliminary quarter-final to fall back on if they need it, but they don't need it because they've won that game 3-24 to 2-19 against Shannon Rovers. Quick start to this game for Clonakilty. Michael John Carroll had a goal after 2 minutes after a good run and pass from Keane Dwyer. And then John Joe Ryan had a goal on the 10th minute. He collected the break, plays a 1-2. He's in on goal, makes it 2-2 to a point. But Shannon Rovers had a lot of early first half wides in this game down in Toomevara. The Clonakilty goalkeeper, Willie Costigan, made a good save as well from a Carl Hogan shot on the 15th minute. It was 2-4 to a point at the time. And then a minute later, Michael John Carroll gets his second goal of the game. And it was off a shot that was saved from goalkeeper Vincent Mulvihill, and the rebound was finished low, 3-5 to 3 points. Rovers, they had a lot of wides. They also had some goal chances in the first half that they just kind of mishit, or kind of poor strikes. didn't really test the goalkeeper too much. George Hannigan had a very high tackle on Michael John Carroll just before half-time. Could have been red. It was one of those ones where I'd say he was a bit worried when the referee was coming over to him, but it was just the yellow card. And Conal Moran got a penalty just before half-time to breathe life back into Shannon Rovers. It was 3-7 to 1-9 at the break. And the second half started with a Shannon Rovers 21-yard free. So there was obviously some dissent from the management or whoever with Clonakilty at half-time. So the referee restarted the game in the second half with a 21-yard free. Conal Moran got a class goal on the 36th minute, makes it 3-9 to 2-11, so a 1-point game. And then Michael Tierney levelled the game up seconds later. So after being down, 3-5 to 3 points after 16 minutes, 20 minutes of game time later, it's back to a level game. So brilliant stuff from Shannon Rovers, but Clonakilty were the ones who pushed on in the second half. They went up by 7 points on the 51st minute, 3-19 to 2-15 with a run of scores, and they kind of never looked back after that. The other game in the group, as we mentioned, was that Carrick-Davins win. So Clonakilty go through second in that group behind Arravale Rovers. Group 3 now, Ballingarry with a 4-point win, 119 to 115 over Holy Cross Ballycahill. Ballingarry are always really good to tweet their games, but there seemed to be a few tweets missing anyway from what I saw, so I didn't see who scored their goal, but they were 111 to 6 points up at the break, and they win it by 4 points for a finish to Holy Cross Ballycahill. That was a dead rubber for Ballingarry. They were already top of the group. Holy Cross Ballycahill had to win that game, but they didn't, so they'll go to the relegation semi-finals. The other game, very entertaining game, watched it back earlier today. Kappa White 225 to 318 winners over Skeena-Rinky, and some absolutely brilliant scores on both ends of the field between Willie Barry, Dara O'Hora, Connor Martin, Dara McCarthy, Dara Brennan for Skeena-Rinky, Tipperary senior footballer, Thomas Vaughan as well. All of those players got brilliant scores in this game, but we'll talk you through it. 6 points to 3 for Kappa White after 15 minutes, but Dara Brennan and Thomas Vaughan with some classy scores for Skeena-Rinky, as I've written down here. Dara O'Hora was doing a lot of damage early. He got 4 points in the first half. Dara Brennan with 4 from playing the first half, and Willie Barry with 3. The goal came just before half-time. It was a big catch from Dara McCarthy and a long hand pass into Connor Martin, who got in behind the defence. He was one-on-one with the goalkeeper, puts it into the back of the net. So 113 to 9 points at the break, so a 7-point lead for Kappa White. Second half starts, a good save from Anthony Barry in the Kappa White goal after an Oisin Power shot at the very start of the second half. And Dara McCarthy got a goal for Kappa White on the 42nd minute. Bit of an error at the back for Skeena-Rinky. Their goalkeeper stopped the ball going over the crossbar, controlled it, brought it out and kind of opened up his shoulders as if he was going to hit it down the field, and kind of last second decided I'll flick it to one of my defenders, who probably thought he was also going to hit it down the field, so that allowed Dara McCarthy to intercept that pass and put it into the back of the net. 216 to 14 points. Then Thomas Vaughan got a 21-yard free, bounced it in off the ground into the top corner on the 47th minute. That made it 220 to 114. So there was, before that ball hit the net, there was 12 points in it. Then that ball goes in. Then Thomas Vaughan, you might have seen the clip, a perfect pass. He's out on the sideline, or on around 35 yards out on the sideline. Lovely ball across the 21 into the hands of Sam McGrath, and he puts it into the back of the net. So in the 52nd minute, it was 221 to 215. So they've gone from 12 down to 6 down. Then Dara Brennan got a goal 2 minutes later. So a run of 3 goals in a row for Skeena-Rinky. That made it 221 to 316. Connor Sweeney played it in, and a great low finish from Dara Brennan. An important point for Kappa White. Straight after that goal, David Buckley put the ball over the bar, and that was an important score, and Kappa White would go on to win. But as I'd written down and as I'd mentioned, plenty of scores, great scores in this game. Thomas Vaughan and Dara Brennan. Dara Brennan finished with 1-6 from play. Connor Martin, I think, finished with about 1-3 or 1-4. Dara O'Hora with 4 points. Dara McCarthy got a lot of scores in the game. Willie Barry as well. So that's a big win for Kappa White there in Group 3. And they go through to the knockout stages and into the quarterfinals behind Ballingarry as group runners-up. Group 4, Bursakane and Ballybacon Grange, dead rubber fixture. Bursakane wins it though 118 to 112. Ballybacon led by a point at half-time, but Bursakane pushed on in the second half. And the other game in this group was another one of these do-or-die games. Newport and Moyle Rovers, winner goes through, loser goes home. And it was Newport 120, Moyle Rovers 16 points. Pa Ryan got the goal for Newport. He flicked it in off a long ball with one hand, 1-3 to 2 points after 9 minutes. As I've written down here, Pa Ryan dangerous. He almost scored a goal just before half-time. His hard shot just over the crossbar. Newport led by 3 at the break, 1-9. Charlie Tobin was on a lot of ball for Newport when I was flicking through this one. He got a brilliant score, and Conor Floyd got a great score out on the sideline to put Newport up by 6 points on the 45th minute. And as I've written, a fairly uneventful kind of stop-start last quarter of the game. Not much happened, but Killian Butler, Tipperary senior footballer, young player from All Rovers, he got a straight red card in injury time. Seemed to break a hurley off one of the Newport defenders when they were coming out with the ball. So that was the reason he got the red card there in injury time. But a good win for Newport. They go into the knockout stages, but unfortunately, I suppose for them, is that they have to play a preliminary quarter-final against Skeenarinky. And Skeenarinky, I thought, looked really good against Kappa White, particularly in that final quarter when they were getting all those goals. So let's have a look at the lay of the land in the intermediate championship here. We have Kilsheelan, Arravale Rovers, Ballingarry and Bursakane as group winners. They'll be joined in the quarterfinals by Portrush, Clonakilty and Kappa White, and one of Newport and Skeenarinky. And as you heard me mention earlier, Carrickdavins, Cloughty Rossmore, Holy Cross and Ballybacon are the teams that will be playing each other in the intermediate relegation semi-finals. So you have Holy Cross against Ballybacon Grange and Cloughty Rossmore against Carrickdavins. Those games also on the 5th and 6th of September. So that is that. That's where we're at. We have an hour and 30 minutes gone. We're going to get to listeners' questions now. We've gone through most of them. We've reacted to the draw. People have asked me about the two Mullinahone situation. We've talked about that. Killian says, what do you think, why do you think so many divisional winners failed to make it out of their group? And it is a good point. You know, I suppose there was always going to be at least one divisional winner in the senior championship not to make it out of the group, because there was 3 in the one group. I suppose I'd probably have to do kind of a deep dive into it about, you know, playing quickly, playing the divisional final and then playing in the first round in terms of what's the winning percentage for those teams in those games. But I think the easy answer is just it's really competitive. You can win your division, but it's still really competitive in the county championship. So that's just how it goes, and teams are delighted to have that kind of fallback of a preliminary quarter final should they need it. And we've seen 6 teams across the 3 grades require the preliminary quarter final route. We've seen Lockmore Castellani win the county final in 2021 coming through that route as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. Someone, Jay and Anthony, also asked me about what young players have impressed so far. So I just did a quick kind of run through about some players that have impressed me so far. Some of these are young that maybe might be targeting the under-20s rather than the senior, and some I'm sure Liam Cahill has his eye on. So the players I've written down, and this is not a exhaustive list, there's other people I would have forgot. So you let me know if someone I'm thinking of you haven't mentioned. So the names I've written down: David Costigan from Icarkey Burris, I think he's been really good so far. Cormac Fitzpatrick for Drummond Ewan Murray for Thurles Sarsfields. You know, he's going to be on the under-20s next year, but he is one of those players you could and he's going to be on the under-20s next year and the year after, but he's a very, very exciting player. Robbie Ryan has shown great flashes for Holy Cross Ballycahill. Other kind of senior players, Eddie Ryan with Bursley is in brilliant form, as is Stephen Ferncombe, Ger Brown. These are kind of players that might have been in around the panel before. Certainly Ger Brown anyway, that could go back. I do have Jamie Ormond written down, but I suppose he played with Tipperary last year, so doesn't really count. Sam Rowan, who was on the Tip under-20s with Mullinahone, he's going very well. Connor Bowe is another one, you know, has been in and out of the panel down through the years, was on the panel in 2025, played championship in 2025. He is one that you could, you know, I think he's certainly going very well. Sean Ryan, I'm always driving that Sean Ryan bandwagon from Templederry. I'd love to see him back in there. Jack Leamy and Ben Curvin going very well, and Mark Keogh back in the country. Joe was an effective player with Tipperary at times, and he's certainly one that could be one that Liam Cahill could be looking at. I'm sure there's other ones as well. I also have some fellas written down that I think the under-20s will be looking at. James Butler from Sean Tracy's, Darrow Dwyer with Killadangan, Killian Cantwell with Mike Carkey Burris, Kieran Rossiter with Thurles Sarsfields, and Philip O'Dwyer with Upper Church Drumban, all players that have been going very well. And there's other players too that almost kind of, they're going to be on those panels anyway, the likes of Cathal O'Reilly and a few more lads like that. So a lot of players there for James Woodlock to look at, and for Liam Cahill. But who do you think, who do you else think is impressing? Maybe I just would have forgot about someone there, or didn't mention them, or maybe they're already on the panel and that's why I didn't mention them. But there's certainly lots for Liam Cahill and his management team to look at there from a performance point of view in the club championship, and bigger emphasis nearly will be put now on the games coming up for all these teams, the knockout fixtures, the big clashes. So that is where we're at. If you've made it this far, an hour and 35 minutes into it, I didn't even take a sip of water in this. This is just 95 minutes straight gas. So I'm going to need to take a bit of water, and I do it for you because I know it sounds terrible audio-wise when I'm sipping water. So that's where we're at. Let me change the camera. It is getting very warm in here, and I don't want to take off this jacket because my microphone is zipped up to it. So we're going to call it at that. Many thanks if you've made it this far. Thanks for all the people getting in touch as well over the weekend and supporting the channel, supporting the podcast, and yeah, hopefully the permutations and all that came into good use over the weekend. So if you have enjoyed, be sure to like the podcast and yeah, subscribe, all that stuff. Follow me at P Carroll Sports. You know the crack from here. But for now, this week's edition, next podcast will be next week as we look ahead to the preliminary quarterfinals. That'll be a shorter podcast because there's only 5 or 6 games to look forward to. But until then, and my voice is really starting to go now, hope you enjoyed, and we'll talk to you on the next one. Good luck and God bless.